Mahou Tsukai was the last hurrah for form changes, and I am so grateful. The 4 forms were regularly switched through and let the characters play with color like we've never seen before. With that said, let's see what witchy gems we find in these designs. From the poster, the theme of this show is clearly magic, as we've got 2 witches and broomsticks behind them. Surrounding them are the Linkle Stones, this season's collectibles. For a toy, they're very pretty to look at, with gorgeous frames and vivid colors. These Linkle Stones grant the girls different forms and powers. So let's take a look at our characters. Mirai and Riko are our heroes, and I love the contrast between them. Pink and purple look really good together. As a pair, Mirai has short hair and casual shorts, while Riko has long hair and a pretty dress, short sleeves and long sleeves, bright hair and dark hair. The outfits suit them and bring out the contrast between their 2 personalities. I do feel that this emphasis on contrast does limit the creativity with some of the outfits later on, but for now, in the civilian form, it's not really a problem. Diamond is up first, and when Mirai transforms, she gets a ponytail, and her hair curls to form little hearts. The way the strands are drawn reminds me of Doki Doki, mostly due to the unnatural hair curling. The tiny witch hats are a cute accessory, and their size keeps them from cluttering up the silhouette. Magenta is only used in the middle of her outfit and on the big bows. The choice not to use black outlines on the gems is strange given their size. It's very easy to lose them in this design. I absolutely love the feathery socks and golden bangles, as well as the anklets that she wears. Pure Magical probably has the least natural hair I've ever seen. Now here's the thing. We've had unnatural hair before. This is Precure. But the wings and the linear strands of hair just make no sense to me. The wings especially. They're an additional design element that looked tacked on. While Mirai's strands were unnaturally curly, these straight strands seem like paper. It looks as if someone just chopped her hair with scissors. It's very hard to believe. Even characters like March have 3 ponytails despite them being exaggerated. This is a mess. The bob cut is cute, but everything else feels very tacky. Her natural hairstyle was cute enough, they should have just tried to exaggerate that. That's the main problem that we'll see with some of the outfits here. It just feels like they weren't sure what they were doing, so there's a bunch of stuff that looks fine, but ultimately, it either goes really badly, or is too bland to really be of note. Her outfit isn't that bad, but it does feature similar problems. I love the puffy hair accessory, but I think that there's dangling fabric at the dress tips, and there's also ruffle on the skirt itself. There's garish red bows, but they're extremely bright, just drawing a lot of attention. Her design has aged rather poorly in my opinion, but I do like the splitting dress and the skirt underneath. I just think that there's too many details in her design that make it really unlikable, probably my least favorite so far. As a unit, the girls match really well. They've both got witch hats, dresses that cut off at the waist, and bows along the torso. Miracle looks way better here, and that's not good. Most time I can ignore Magical's wing hair, but the fact that they're a pair and one of them clearly has a lot more thought put into the design and accessory placement kinda bothers me because it just distracts me. Now, while I couldn't find beta art of the girls' diaforms, I did find this piece of art with a curlier hat. Seems like there's only prototypes for the other forms. So this season, each form gets its own dedicated transformation and attack, which requires us to introduce... This magical bear is the girl's transformation item. It's very unconventional. She's basically a cute teddy that's brought to life by Precure magic. Stars in her ears for Riko, and hearts on her paw for Mirai. Much like the girl, she has a bow, which is where the Linkle Stones go during the transformations. Speaking of... This season got greedy and gave the girls 4 transformations. Let's take a look. Dai is the most standard one and uses the girls' main colors. The girls twirl to magic music with their hands held. This acts as a creative limit as it limits the amount of perspectives we can see. The illusion has to be kept at all times, so we don't get to see them move individually, but rather the shots will usually have the other one dangling off in the background. It can seem a bit funny if you freeze frame it, but it is something I appreciate. Acting within creative limits always shows just how strong somebody's vision can be to create something impressive. Ruby is the stone of passion with fluid dynamic motion and a flurry of effects. The rose petals and lacy backgrounds remind me of Valentine's chocolate. Everything is so explosive with power, even the hair that was previously limp and graceful is now a burst of twin tails. We finish with one last explosion, capping it off. The music changes too for this one, with a faster pace building up throughout before a slow swell as the dresses form. The beginning and the ending stay rather similar, but I do love that they were dedicated enough to give the music different little flourishes here and there. Sapphire features the girl swimming in place, so beyond effects, I don't feel it adds much. I do love the calm, gentle sway of it, as Sapphire is the stone of calmness, though. And there's this one shot with her necks craning, and I think that was really cool. Finally, we've got Topaz, the stone of excitement. This one features sweets and playful energy, as candy motifs cover the screen. The mirror imaging is a bit random, but I like it because it's shiny and different. The girls smile a lot more here, so it's probably the most festive one. If I had to rank them, I'd say Ruby is up first, followed by Topaz, then Sapphire, with Dia in last place. I do feel bad placing Sapphire above Dia so they can share last place, because Sapphire didn't do too much for me either. Aesthetically, they try and incorporate the themes in the design too. Sapphire's got soft gradients and flowing ribbons, while Topaz gives them poofy, sweet themed outfits. Mirai's default design is pretty great, and I love the twin tails in her ruby form. Sapphire's got the best dress, and Topaz is just really goofy. Rico's hair, however, is the worst in Dia, with practically every other style improving it. Her thinner braids look way better than Mirai's do in the Topaz form, and I love that the dresses are stylish, so her original design has been redeemed in my eyes. Diamond Eternal is the first attack, and I love how they're sent far off, as this will be reprised for a later attack. It's appropriately bright for the Stone of Light. Ruby shoots at the girls with much power, and I love the unique shape they draw this time, as well as the glossy shading on the energy. Sapphire wraps gently around their wands, and is really pretty with a bright moon painting the scene. Topaz Esperanza is last, and it's full of energy as the ball is bounced between them. I love that they made it lightning themed for some reason. There's also a very whimsical part of the music at one point, so you should listen to that. Beyond the main attacks, we do get Linkle Stones, which are used for support. They're fun. Some produce light and others grow plants. They're a great substitute for spells, but the attacks just aren't exciting with the duo. Beyond the main four, there isn't much else to talk about, so we're just gonna move straight into our first group of villains are the three Dark Magicians. Batty is a bat with red, and his design is alright to be honest. It was kinda made fun of when it was first revealed. Nothing exceptional. He's a lot cuter in his animal form. Next up we've got Sparda. She's probably my favorite design. The spider hair was a great choice, and the webby clothing is cool too. I guess her animal can do the most, so her design has to be good. The power-up, though iconic, is a little goofy. The helicopter look is such a strange choice, but descending from above is something spiders can do, so I can at least imagine why they chose this specific design. Lastly, we have Gametsu. He's a pretty strong guy with a stocky frame that fits his animal theme best. When he powers up, he loses shell and gets a much longer hair plume. It really fits his warrior theme and suits his desire to test the girl's strength. Iamo is a cowboy lizard who reminds me a lot of Rango. His cowboy hat and hair give him a goofy but alright look. Once he's revived, he does wear darker clothing, but I find his final form coolest. It's very draconic. The master of this trio, well, really quartet, is Dokudokshi. He's a skeleton in a robe. I think that he's probably the lamest main villain design we've ever had. It's such a goofy look. It looks like that Yu-Gi-Oh card, but worse. As a human, he's pretty stern with black hair and wears the magic school uniform. It's a cool hairstyle, but I feel like they really did not try too hard with his design. But he does mirror Kocho, and we'll talk about that once we get to the magic school staff. Alright, something cool. The team's third and final member is a fairy mascot that grows alongside them. Ha-chan begins as a tiny flower baby and slowly grows to become a real girl. I admire her bright floral eyes and the abundance of flowers in her design. They really went all in with this flower fairy inspiration. In her human design, she has butterflies on her skirt, which introduced the second visual motif we'll see with her. So now let's talk about the greatest transformation in Precure history. FELICE Fun Fun Flowerlay is probably the longest transformation, but boy do I love it. Unlike previous entries, every item and accessory gets spotlight. It just grows and grows with each beat. Kotoha's golden dress stands out against the green background, and her graceful F sets the tone. When the vines bloom, they take over the background and wrap around her body. Flowers bloom across her body, and a butterfly perches on her head. The flower opening is glorious, serving as a final transition, as well as forming the fairy wings. It takes a lot of creativity to use one theme while keeping it fresh. It's far better than any of the form change ones. As a design, Felice is full of flowers. She's got 3 on her head alone. 3 butterflies too. It's almost an excessive balance. The whole dress is fairy-like with nature all around it. I love her pink heart braids and their smart use of color. The vine blooming into a flower is subtle but pretty clear on her chest. As a 5th ranger, she really does feel special, lacking most elements the other girls have. I imagine they used pink so prominently to tie into her flower fairy origins. It's the most prominent inspiration in her design, swallowing any hopes of green cures for most fans. The pink takes prominence here, with green reserved for the top and shoes. I don't mind too much, but I do understand why some people complained. Emerald Reincarnation charges up her Flower Echo Wand to fire an infinity beam. I admire their commitment to one theme. It seems a lot more solid than Ruby's Passion or Sapphire's Calmness. Finally, the goddess motif is present with a floral stained glass behind her in some of these shots. Each motif combines harmoniously to form a perfect product. Speaking of new powers, we've got an all-new villain group. Labu is up first, and he's a fat orange genie with a prideful smirk and a lazy stance. His golden armbands are a nice touch as they remind me of Aladdin's genie, and I like his cat-like face. In his final form, his belly grows and a flower pattern blooms on it. Shakins is a crow tengu born of a statue, and he's fittingly cold and soldier-like. His green hair is unique and contrasts his darker skin. It flares up in the power-up, where he gains 2 wings, so that's pretty cool. Lastly, we have Benigio, who is a sexy red Raijin, and Orba, who's our blue fan service man. They were both pretty popular, but I do prefer Orba's design. Benigio is a little bulky with all those red attachments. Even powered up, it just feels like a bit too much, feels clunky. I prefer Orba's sleek, fashionable design. He even gets black and white wings, which gives him the best power-up. Deucemast is the second main villain, and his design kinda looks like melting magma. It's just a very cool design. I also love how the 4 villains are represented by the orbs around him. Now with these, I think that there might be some cultural influence I'm missing, so I may not have as much to say about them, but if you do know some stuff, then hopefully you can appreciate them more than I did. Once the team is gathered, we get our first group attack. The Rainbow Carriage is a strange power-up item, and the way it's acquired is equally bizarre. The jewel texture during the transformation is pretty smart, and the girls each get a new form with flowers and wings added. For Felice, having the poofy skirt open and adding vines allows her to be truly green. Tulle is probably best used here as it gives her arms green tinge without adding more green to the design. Additionally, the girls finally get their glorious witch hats as well as magical capes. I feel that Riko's red bothers me less here since it matches her black hat, and fits neatly into her white ruffles. It also just takes up less of the design because her outfit is so much bigger. Mirai's design was already perfect, so this is a great power-up. My favorite thing about the attack is probably the music and the sound the Lickle Stones make. Lastly, they send the foes over the rainbow, which is how Mother Rapapa sealed Deuce Masked into the sun. In the series movie, they do go a more classic route and make the clothes brighter, but that brings us to probably my favorite thing about Mahou Tsukai is that both mascots get to transform. Mofurun is somewhat of a trans icon in the fandom, and here's why. According to Yuta Tanaka, the movie director, most of the staff saw Mofurun as genderless. They even planned to have Mirai assume that she was a boy until she came to life and decided otherwise. Now, Mofurun's cure design is a lot. Within the betas, it's clear they wanted wild hair and poofy pants. The stars from her ears remain, as do the bare paws in the form of gloves. I love how mellow her outfit is, and she fits in quite well with the team. She actually recycles some ideas from the betas of the girls' form changes. The gloves from Beta Magicals to Paz form, and the hair from Beta Miracles to Paz form. Her form changes really play with the hair, which is probably why they stuck with it. In Ruby, it's wound up like ribbons. In Sapphire, it's bubbly like water. And in Topaz, it's like jelly. Her Heartful style is a little goofy with the afros, as this hair texture really contrasts with the rest of her hair. The main villain of the movie is black to contrast her, and his design is equally goofy, but I do love the little edge they got from this concept. Now realistically, the movie didn't have that many designs that stood out to me, so I think this is a good place to end it. If you made it this far, thank you so much. MahouTsukai didn't impress me as much as the other seasons, and I think this video does show that. While I still do defend this season because I feel people were excessively harsh toward it, I'm willing to admit that it was at least lackluster. With that said, thank you for watching, and see you guys next time.